You know, talking about marketing, one of the most important marketing jobs that's happening in the United States right now is those that are running for president of the United States. And I'd be really curious. It's a wild situation because you have two of the most disliked people we've ever had on the
interesting,
audience,
isn't it?
right? They have the lowest ratings for likability. Tell me what you see in the presidential race in terms of what's working, what's not working marketing-wise. I'm really curious.
It is
because Donald Trump has basically violated what everybody believes, but he seems to dominate the news cycle no matter what.
It's the most fascinating marketing case study I've ever seen, is this 2016 presidential cycle. Yeah. And I've been so geeking out about it. It's crazy. So much so that I live in the Boston area, so much so I went to multiple New Hampshire primary events.
Really?
I went to Donald Trump, I went to Hillary Clinton, I went to Bernie Sanders, John Kasich, Marco Rubio, and I'm checking out what they're doing at their events. I'm checking out what they're doing online. Every single one of them failed to integrate offline marketing with online marketing.
Explain.
So they all have these rallies, these events, and it's hugely time-consuming for the candidates to spend 2 hours in a high school gym with 250 New Hampshire people. And of course, they're hoping to get some media coverage as a result. But what they completely failed to be able to do was understand that every one of those people in there had a smartphone. Every one of those people in there could tweet. Every one of those people could be posting on Facebook. They could have thrown out a hashtag that people could have used. They could have created images of that event, posted them on Facebook for easy sharing. Oh my gosh, I'm on the Hillary Clinton Facebook page. I was at this event, so I'm going to... None of them did it.
Not a single one?
Not a single one did it.
Wow, that's wild.
But interestingly, Hillary Clinton actually had a really interesting technique for getting people to share. She's the selfie ninja.
What do you mean?
She works the rope line. She grabs your mobile phone from your hand, and she takes it from you and does
Here, I'll do this for you.
I'll do it for you, yeah. And I calculated that she can get that selfie off in 7.2 seconds.
Wow. As opposed to Bill would be at the same name.
As opposed to
she and Bill together. What's the difference?
Well, Bill lets, like everyone else, lets you take the picture.
Right.
And
plus, he loves to spend the time with the person, too, right?
He does. But he's not running for president this time, of course. She is, and she wants to get as many people as possible, because every one of those people, like I got a selfie with her. I posted it. I had several hundred people who liked it and probably several thousand who saw it. So with 7.2 seconds, she was exposed to 1,000 people. You do that for the whole room, you're exposed to tons of people. But if you're waiting for the person to take the photo, it takes a little bit longer. They get nervous. It's blurry. And she's the selfie ninja. And the other most interesting thing, though, is Donald Trump, who is the most real-time of candidates. Absolutely real time. We talked about newsjacking. He is the newsjacking master.
Right? And he beats up the media, and they still go to him because he brings so many ratings.
And whenever they need a quote on a story, they go to his Twitter feed and they yank the quote off. That's newsjacking.
There's always conflict there too.
And where I really noticed that was the very first Democratic debate. And it was Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton, but at that time there were a few others in the race as well. And what he did that was fascinating was he did a live tweet of the Democratic debate. And before it started, he goes, tonight at 8 o'clock I'm going to live stream the Democratic debate. It's going to be incredibly boring, but I'm going to do it anyway.
Yeah, I remember I saw it.
And I was like, that's awesome. And I'm not talking about who I support here, but I'm talking about marketing.
I understand.
And it was fascinating to me. Absolutely fascinating to me that he is by far the most engaged candidate. And I saw some data. I haven't got the updated data, but for the year 2015, I looked at the candidates and how much they spent on traditional advertising and how much the candidates generated in free exposure. And I looked at this as very much a parallel to what we've been talking about.
In business, for sure.
Right? So you've got the traditional form of spending money on ads. You've got the form of real-time communications that generates attention. So Jeb Bush spent the most amount of money, $85 million in 2015, to get, I think he got like 2 delegates or something like that. I forget. A really small amount of delegates.
Price per delegate's a little expensive.
A little bit expensive there. Donald Trump spent way less than that, just a couple of $1 million, but generated $1.9 billion worth of free exposure. In other words, free media, people talking about him, which was more than every other candidate put together.
Wow.
Yeah.
No, I saw similar numbers.
Incredible.
It was mind-boggling because he always talks about, I'm funding my campaign, but he's not spending anything by comparison to anybody else in the field.
Amazing.
He just gets the media to respond. Now, comment on Donald Trump, very often it's conflict. He's usually extremely negative in most of his communication. That seems to be working for him for at least this large segment of the population. Is that, how do you look at that as a marketer from your perspective?
Well, what's interesting about that is has been, up until the time that you and I are talking now, been dealing with the Republican primaries.
Right.
And so he's been talking to a small-ish niche audience.
Okay.
And that seems to have been working for him.
Yes.
It'll be really interesting to see if that works in the general audience.
Yeah,
and I'm not sure. And will he pivot and change his approach? I don't know.
Yeah.
Will he use the same approach? It's certainly working for him. Maybe he'll use the same approach. That's why I think this is so fascinating. I geek out about it so much.
It's going to be interesting to see.
It's really, really interesting.
It's also, though, in business, in business very often what I found is there's a life cycle, obviously, to all businesses, just like a life cycle to human beings. And what you get rewarded for in the beginning usually is why 96% of all businesses are gone in 10 years. 4% make it. That doesn't mean they're profitable, but it's because what you're rewarded for is not listening to anybody else, doing it your way. Because if you listen to everybody, you wouldn't even start the business. They go, you're crazy, right? So you don't listen, you grow. And then there's a point where there's enough scale to your business or your message or whatever that now there's more people involved. There's more. And now if you keep doing the same thing and you don't listen, you get hit.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to see if that happens with Donald Trump.